Welcome to BoxingScene Today. I'm Ricardo Celis here in the studio with the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi, and we have via Zoom the Trainer of the Year, Robert Garcia. From Pro Box TV to the world stage in the next couple of months, a couple of Pro Box fighters that are going to be fighting for world titles. We have Erickson Lubin versus Vergil Ortiz, and we have also Lamont Roach versus Isaac and Pitbull Cruz. Paulie, I'll start with you. Why so many fighters lately from Pro Box are fighting on the world titles?
Well, I think, it goes to show you the level of competition we have here at Pro Box. And when you're able to come out of this level of competition, it typically prepares you for that championship level, because to win on Pro Box, you're likely going to have to go through some adversity, tough fights. You're going to test your mental character as well as your physical ability. So, it's sort of a training ground for the higher level. So I think that's why you see, various fighters, not just the ones you mentioned, but also we've seen other various fighters, move on to championship level or even get championship shots in bigger fights. And I think that's going to continue to be the case, because the Pro Box level of fights it certainly matches you very, very tough, and it prepares you for that next highest championship level. If you can get by Pro Box, you're at the championship level.
You're absolutely right. Robert, November 11 over there in Fort Worth, Texas, one of your fighters, Vergil Ortiz, fighting Erickson Lubin. What do you think about this fight?
Look, Erickson Lubin is obviously one of the fighters, like Paulie just said, from a promotion that's always putting the fighters in real fights. And that makes a big difference. We've seen it over and over with so many different fighters coming out of Pro Box TV that are actually in world-class fighters that are ready to become champions. Some have already become champions with upsets and stuff like that. So it's just the right promotion to prepare these guys to be ready. We're actually getting ready too. We're getting ready for the best of Lubin. We're actually in the gym right now with Vergil, training hard, getting ready, because we know the fight's going to be a solid fight.
Paulie, Erickson Lubin is stepping into his backyard, in Vergil Ortiz's backyard. Do you think he has a chance?
Well, you know what? It comes to the point in your career where you don't really have a lot of other choices, right? I mean, you're still hovering around the top, but the business has a way of sort of skating you out the other side and sort of making you go back down. So in order to keep yourself up there, you're going to have to go through some adversity, maybe take on a champion or a high-level contender in their backyard. I remember personally in my situation, I felt the business was doing the same thing to me, in that I couldn't get dates on major networks anymore. I had to be on some pay-per-view undercards in order to rebuild myself after I lost to Amir Khan. But I built myself to the number one contender spot. But with no TV networks in the U.S. wanting to buy the fight, I had to go to Ukraine to fight for the world championship. So at the time, I won my second world title in Donetsk, Ukraine. So I think Erickson is sort of in that same situation where he's looked at as a guy who's competed at a high level. He probably still can compete at a high level, but sometimes the networks and the big promoters, they're sort of kind of over dealing with you already, and then moving on to the next best thing. It's sort of what happens. You're just a product as a fighter. So in order for you to try to find a place where you fit in, sometimes you got to take on these tough, hungry lions or even champions, and you got to go to their hometowns. And that's why I see the comparison as to what I had to do there back then and what Erickson's in a position to do here. He's got to go to the hometown of Vergil, who is the hot thing right now. He's the happening thing in boxing. Right. He's the man of the moment in the Western Hemisphere in boxing.
Robert, this fight against Vergil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin is almost a month away. How's the training camp with Vergil Ortiz?
Training camp is going great. Vergil is a very dedicated fighter. Him and his dad and Hector Beltran, that are always part of training camp with him, always on top of him, pushing him to do his best. The kid is one of the most dedicated fighters that I've ever worked with, and we actually have to slow him down. We have to stop him. We have to give him a day off. We have to give him rest, because if it was up to him, he trains nonstop, and sometimes it could be a little bit too much. So we're actually being very careful with that, also because of his his personal health issues that he's had in the past. But so far, camp is going great.
Talking about the health issues with Vergil Ortiz, how's his health right now?
Well, look, like I said, everybody knows he's had health issues in the past where there's a few fights that have been canceled because of his personal issues. But actually now with Dr. Charles Tremley with us and Dr. Bautista always monitoring everything going on with Virgil, his blood and everything, and his body, things are going great. He's looking sharp. He's looking fast. He's not having struggling to make weight or anything. He's actually everything's going right on point. We're monitoring everything he does, everything he eats, everything he does, especially in the gym, because that's where if we don't control that, he'll overtrain. He just loves to work out. Like I said, he's one of the most dedicated fighters I've ever worked with.
Robert, so the rhabdomyolysis is a thing of the past now. It has not really acted up again, right?
Well, no, it hasn't been active. It hasn't been active, but it's still there. We can't get rid of it. That's why we have to take care of it. We have to take care of it during camp, during training, during sparring. Everything he's doing, the morning workouts when he wakes up to go run and stuff like that. We have to monitor all that because it is an issue, and it could be it. That's why he went through what he went a couple of years ago, because he wasn't monitoring that. Now that we're in control and we're taking over, he's been healthy. He's been doing everything correct, and we have no issues. But obviously, if we don't take care of it, then it could definitely come back.
Because that's one of the things to Vergil Ortiz. He overtrains almost all the time. Eh?
Well, it's not like all the time, because he wouldn't be a top contender if he overtrained all the time, Ricardo. But I tell you what, some young fighters have such an enthusiasm for the sport, and you can see based on what Coach Garcia is saying that Vergil has one of those things. And when it comes to these kind of fighters, you have to sort of stay on top of them, because you're young and you're excited and you're very enthusiastic and passionate about achieving your goals. You have all these goals in your mind, and they're all in front of you. It's an exciting time in your life. But of course, you've got the older guard like Coach Garcia, who's been a world champion, and they know that some of the things that you can hurt yourself if you're over enthusiastic. So that's why you have a team of professionals, and that's why you see Vergil being sort of monitored so that he doesn't overtrain and he trains adequately. Because a guy like this, he's world class. So if he trains adequately, you're gonna get the best out of him.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to that fight, Vergil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin. Coach, it's gonna be broadcast by DAZN, right?
Correct. It is the zone. Yes, correct. Out of Dallas, Texas. Yes.
Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, yeah.
Fort Worth, Texas, November 11th. What do you think about
November 8th?
And November 8th.
November 8th. I'm sorry.
8th,
Yeah,
yes,
I got the
8th.
wrong date. November 8th.
Correct.
What do you think
November
Lamont Roach fighting Isaac Pitbull Cruz?
Yeah, it's a month later. Lamont Roach and Pitbull Cruz. Lamont looking for a big fight. It's kind of tough after you're not getting the Gervonta Davis rematch. You don't want to fall into a lull and get an unimportant fight, because it's hard to get motivated after you've had your emotions so high, ready for a rematch or ready for a big fight, and then all of a sudden it doesn't come. It's difficult to get motivated for a small fight. So Lamont needed a big fight to sort of keep that energy going and keep that mentality going. And I think the Pitbull Cruz fight is a tough fight. Cruz is physically demanding, but it's also the kind of fight that people are going to anticipate. They're going to be excited to watch. They're both fighters that have given Tank Davis some of the toughest fights of his career, so they'll be compared to one another as well moving into the fight. And I think stylistically, it makes for a good fight, because even though Lamont boxes, he's in that DC style doesn't use their legs a lot. They box right from where they are. They catch and shoot a lot. They slip and counter right from where they are. It's not a lot of leg movement in that DC boxing style. And of course, Pitbull has that Mexican attacking style. So I think it'll be a high contact fight. It makes for excitement, and I think that's what Lamont Roach wanted. He wanted a fight that he could really motivate himself for, get himself up for, and I think the fans will also be enjoying that kind of action.
Definitely, I think it's going to be a great fight. Coach, what do you think about the fight Lamont Roach Jr. versus Isaac and Pitbull Cruz? That Pitbull Cruz, we know the Mexican style, always go forward, relentless, throwing punches.
As a fan, honestly, I can't wait for the fight, because I think it's going to be such a great fight. Probably just said it, with Roach styles, he doesn't run, he stays there, but he uses a lot of movement, counter punching and blocking and counter. That's I'm excited about the fight. I can't wait. It's going to be a all action fight. I think Pitbull, being at 140 a little bit longer than Roach being his first time, might have the advantage. But when it comes to styles, Roach is perfect for Pitbull style, to be able to counter, to be able to block and counter, to be able to make the miss and counter. It's going to be a great fight. I honestly, it's one of those fights that I'm excited about coming up.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Styles make fights, and this is a style fight to where you can see the styles really blending and making a fun fight. And December is always a big boxing month in our sport. It's a big month in our sport. A lot of good fights, and I think this being the early part of December, with December 12th, 11th,
December 6th. That one's December 6th.
So
in San Antonio.
It kicks off the December festivities. It's going to be a fun month of boxing in December.
I was looking forward for Lamont Roach versus Tank Davis, the rematch.
I was too, but with Tank, nothing can surprise you anymore.
And now he's going against Jake Paul. Huh?
Jake Paul, yes.
Which is completely ridiculous.
The less we talk about it, the better, right?
Coach, I think you were waiting also. You were expecting also the rematch between Lamont Roach and Tank Davis, right?
The rematch should have happened. Tank didn't want to do it, and I don't know what excuses he's coming up with. Lamont Roach should have got the rematch. Lamont Roach should have been world champion right now, but it's part of boxing, politics in boxing, favoritism in boxing. I've seen it. I've seen everything. But being in front of commissions that are some of the best in the world, or at least some of the more respected commissions, and for them to make mistakes like that and not and let people get away with stuff like that, it just makes it look bad. It just makes boxing look bad. I'm not, I know I have a lot of fighters, like I've said it before, and it sometimes it does affect, in the future, but we got to be real too. I can't, lie for stuff like that when I know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned, big commissions. It surprises you because big commissions that deal with a lot of big fights, making mistakes like that. One might think it's almost like it's done on purpose.
Yeah. Definitely.
Look, I'm gonna give you guys a little, because I was there at that fight when Roach fought against
Davis.
Tank Davis.
Against Davis. And when the weigh-ins, when they had the weigh-ins, they told every fighter no jewelry when they're weighing in. They didn't force Tank to take off his jewelry when he stepped on the scale. They told him he had to take it off, and he refused to take it off, and they still allowed it. So you know what I mean? It's just little things that might not make a difference, but if that's the rule,
but you're already
enforce it.
Yeah, you're already testing them, and you're saying, okay, I own these people. They're
exactly.
not gonna,
exactly.
If they're not going to enforce it in the small, they're not going to enforce it in the big.
That is correct.
But that's something that the New York Athletic Commission, they really have to saw the review, the checking the video when he went down.
I've been in boxing since the 90s, man. The New York State Athletic Commission, although it is one of the most busy commissions for big fights, has gone through a gamut of scandals in my lifetime. Since I've been boxing in the 90s. I can remember from the Gotti Gamache weigh-in to Beethoven Scotland dying on Friday Night Fights on the Intrepid to, things that I'm not even remembering to now this. I mean, there's been a slew of stuff that the commission has gone through there in New York, and what are you gonna do? I mean, this is the Wild West. I mean, I don't approve of it, but I mean, it's like I said, I've seen it my whole life. What am I gonna do? Even before me. I mean, isn't that where it wasn't it in New York where what's his name took the padding out of the gloves?
Yeah,
Panama Lewis. Didn't that happen in New York too? Yeah. I mean, it's a zoo over there. What are we doing? I mean, it's like the Bronx Zoo. It's like the commission.
I don't know, but we're very proud that our fighters, they're fighting for these world title fights. First, we're going to have Erickson Lubin versus Vergil Ortiz in November over there in Fort Worth, Texas. And then in December, Lamont Roach versus Isaac El Pitbull Cruz. For Paulie Malignaggi, Robert Garcia, un servidor Ricardo Celis, thank you very much. This is Boxing Scene Today.